I'm still being targeted and tortured, held hostage by my government in an act of war. But if it's war, why do I have private citizens attacking me if it's war? Isn't war supposed to be between the military? And if it's the military, then why are you attacking a veteran who served in the armed forces? Or is it an act of espionage to cover up your act of espionage, treason, sabotage, and torture? You created a brain initiative program. You didn't want to stop this because you were having too much fun spying and creating patents off my ideas, creating movies off my ideas to try to sell that to society. You created the smart soldier because of me. You created movies because of me. And here we are, still trying to get some justice of freedom and separation. You destroyed my family. You destroyed my friends. You destroyed people that I meet. I mean, you've made me a walking antenna susceptible to your terrorism for over 32 years. I am a walking antenna. Look at me. I have ESP, extrasensory perception. I am broadcasting my life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I am broadcasting my life to society, to the government in foreign countries, in which I should not know what the hell I'm thinking or doing. How do we get here? Okay. Welcome to the machine. Yes, welcome to the machine. It's a scary day, United States. But the tech giants who are trying to rule the country, trying to take over this country with tyranny and communism, trying to put the mark of the beast inside of us and control our minds. It's reality. So facts. You're in violation of my 4th and 5th Amendment rights. You created this crazy life. It's my crazy life. I am the Manchurian candidate. I'm a test subject for over 32 years without my consent, without a federal court order. Why? How did we get here? Why? Why? Answer the question. You've been spying on me. You chose me only out of the whole entire military. You chose me for this experiment. Why? Why was I chosen the only one out of all the military services? How did we get here? Why did you wrongfully diagnose me and compensate me to cover up your act of espionage or to sell the Brain Initiative program to the UN to cover up your act of espionage? When I went to the VA and said I was being targeted and tortured, spied on, oh, you're crazy. We're going to see reality of what the VA knew for over 72 years. Okay, we're going to revisit the VA. Okay? All right. I'm being targeted and tortured. I have an iPhone 16. Everybody has an iPhone 16. You bought stock in it. You bought the phone. You thought it was cool. You invested in it. But you don't know this thing's killing you. These things have gotten heavier. Okay? What's in these things? Okay? And we're going to revisit that. These things are blowing up. They're tracking Americans. Okay? You can't turn them off. I turned mine off. And it's not off. I turned mine off, and it's not off. It's not off. This thing is tracking me even when the thing's off. Okay? Still tracking me. All right? But I own an Apple iPhone, Apple 16. Okay? Right before your eyes. The smartest thing ever. It's got a brain. It's got a brain in here. This thing's got a brain. It's got a brain. It's got other brains that it uses too. My brain. It hunts me down. It tells me to turn on my phone. It's going to torture me or kill me, right? They threaten me with deadly force when my phone's not on. I own an Apple 16. Okay? This Apple 16 is very smart. It knows exactly where you're at. Okay? Exactly where I'm at. All right? And I'm going to show you that this thing has a compass in it. It has a compass. Has a compass. Go right in here, touch the compass. It opens up. And right at that window right there, at that window, about 320 degrees northwest is where the satellite is positioned. So I have one satellite there, and I have another satellite that's right over here, about 168 degrees southwest. So I have two satellites that are attacking me. So I have to cover up my head, my brain, so it won't be fried or cooked. Okay? So we think. That's not the case. This thing penetrates wood, wire. This weapon penetrates wood, concrete, metal, water, even the blood-brain barrier to attack you, to manipulate your mind. It does. 2 satellites attacking me, right? Now, where's the evidence? Well, you can go down to the app and get you the decimal X, hit that button, and it's quiet in my house. Shh. I'm going to stop talking. Everything's turned off here. The constant blue line is the infinity of Havana Syndrome. It doesn't stop. It's dialed in at a certain frequency, and it continues to attack you. Doesn't go away. It's constant attacking me, trespassing my home, trespassing trespassing my brain in violation of my 4th and 5th Amendment rights. It is. I call it an ELF weapon, low frequency weapon. And we're going to cover that today. I'm going to give you a chart. You ready? Get your chart out. I'm going to give you your chart. I'm going to give you a chart. And this chart explains to you that they're violating my civil rights and they're violating, United Nations laws because you're attacking my brain, attacking my ears with loud noise, penetrating my ears, maybe even possibly busting my eardrum, right? I mean, you're trying to kill me, trying to dismantle me with deadly force. What do I have to defend myself? What do I have to defend myself? Okay, we're going to give you a chart now, right? Going to give you a chart to go by, and that'll help you analyze the rest of the cases of Americans. Because I have a chart, it's a professional chart. And look at the facts. Here's my chart. Here's the chart, and here is the evidence. That's enough damage to destroy a human being. You're trespassing my home to attack me. Why? What weapons do I have? What civil rights do I have to defend myself? Where is my equal protection of the law? Huh? Do I have the right to call a law enforcement officer that will come over here and shoot back at the son of a bitch attacking me with a satellite? What about the fucking neighbor that's attacking? Pardon my French. What about the neighbor that's attacking me? Do I have the same defense as anyone else to call law enforcement so you can shoot back at the neighbor that's attacking me with deadly force? What about the satellite that's hunting me down? Do I have the right to call that law enforcement officer so he can shoot back at the satellite in my defense? Come on, man. Where is equal protection of the law? Where's it at? Where's it at? I want to do a tribute to the tin hat foil, I call it the Tinfoil Hat Society, which I'll be developing for charity to develop these tinfoil hats. Okay, it's the Tinfoil Hat Society charity. I'll be establishing that here pretty soon. The Tinfoil Hat Society for charity. Okay, for the mentally for people that are falsely in prison and mental incarcerated and responsible of technology. Yeah, that's what I'll do. And I want to cite this court case here because Leonard Kyle was wrongfully diagnosed back in the 1970s. Okay, and I say 1970. I'm going to stress 1970 overs and overs again. The 1970s. Okay, Leonard Kyle was a study of the CIA and VA, Department of Veterans Affairs. Leonard Kyle was a victim. Leonard Kyle was an American citizen, victimized by our government and technology, a silent weapon. And I want to cite Leonard Kyle because he is a victim of advanced technology, a secret society for over 72 years that's been lingering around the United States. And no one has done a damn thing about it. The Leonard Kyle story. Just grab the knowledge. Hold on to the knowledge because you need to open up a case. Just grab the knowledge. Hold on to it because you'll be opening up in a case. The Leonard Kyle story. The Leonard Kyle story. Leonard Kyle appeared at the Department of Veterans Affairs around 1972. Read the article. Read the article, especially right there that's highlighted in blue. It said, in 1971, an attendant found Leonard Kyle with the wastebasket over his head to stop the microwaves. A sympathetic doctor at Boston VA Hospital, where he was transferred, ordered him a large sheet of aluminum foil. A large sheet of aluminum foil. So that he may fashion a protective helmet for himself and wished him good luck. The VA doctors were not informed that Kyle had been fitted with an electric strand and wrote him off as delusional paranoia. Read it. Now I want to go into some of the professionals who talk about that. Who talk about Leonard Kyle. Here's one of Leonard Kyle's story. More evidence. Let's visit some of the videos here. Here we go.
Lately, Elon Musk.
Here we go.
Lately, Elon Musk's brain implant Neuralink is everywhere. Article after article after article. Some think Neuralink is great, some think it is pure evil, but either way, there is a big controversy over this cutting-edge technology. But it's not really cutting-edge technology. There is a long history of brain-computer interfaces and doctors using electrodes and implants to control patients' brains. And at times, these brain surgeries have been met with disastrous results, which brings us to the story of Leonard Kyle. The story begins with Dr. Jose Delgado, who is a Yale professor who is considered the pioneer of using brain implants to control the human mind. All the way back in the 1950s, Delgado was implanting devices in the brains of monkeys and cats and later humans. He demonstrated you could manipulate a person's emotions by delivering an electric shock to a specific area of a patient's brain. Depending on the area of the brain hit by the shock, a patient could be turned from happy to sad to scared to violently angry with the press of a button. Delgado famously demonstrated just how powerful his technology was by hooking up electrodes to a bull's brain. He then stood in the path of the charging bull and stopped it dead in its tracks with a jolt of electricity from a remote control device. There is so much more on Dr. Delgado's experiments and his vision for humanity. It is some absolutely insane, wild stuff, just riveting to read. We won't get into him anymore here, but we do have a video coming out about Delgado very soon, so be sure to subscribe so you're notified when it's out. Delgado named his brain implant device a stimoceiver, and one of the first people to receive a stimoceiver implant was a man named Leonard Kyle. Kyle is an interesting guy. He was described as a brilliant engineer who was the co-inventor of the first Polaroid instant camera along with Edwin Land, who founded Polaroid. Later, the camera was named after Land, the Polaroid Land instant camera, and Kyle's contribution has been mostly forgotten. But Kyle did hold numerous lucrative patents related to the camera, and there's been speculation that Kyle actually had more to do with the camera's creation than Land did. In 1966, Kyle became a patient of Drs. Vernon Mark and Frank Irvin. Kyle suspected that his wife was having an affair, and he would constantly lose his temper and fly into violent rages over the affair, and a psychiatrist referred him to these two doctors for neurological tests. Mark and Irwin were very close associates of Dr. Delgado, and they were heavily involved in brain implant surgery as well. There's some controversy over what happened after Kyle began seeing Drs. Mark and Irvin. The doctors either convinced Kyle to get an electronic brain implant to stop his temper tantrums, or they implanted the device into his brain without his consent. Either way, Mark and Irvin implanted Dr. Delgado's stimoceiver device in Kyle's brain, and this let them use a remote control to administer electrical stimulation to parts of his brain to control his mood swings. That was the intention, at least. Unfortunately for Kyle, the surgery did not go as planned. The operation to put electrodes in Kyle's head happened in 1966, and almost immediately, Kyle had after effects from the operation. Kyle claimed microwaves were frying his brain and putting him in excruciating pain. He was found wandering around a grocery store parking lot in California talking to himself and was hospitalized. He was released, but his behavior became increasingly erratic, and he was eventually committed to a mental asylum. A doctor investigating his case said Kyle was, quote, totally disabled by the operation and left unable to function in the day-to-day world. In 1971, a hospital attendant discovered Kyle holding a metal wastebasket over his head to, quote, stop the microwaves, and they brought him some tinfoil to make a protective hat for himself in place of the trash can. You've undoubtedly heard the term tinfoil hat before, and Kyle's case is one of the main reasons the term became so popularized. Kyle claimed the tinfoil blocked the signals sent to his brain, and he apparently wore this tinfoil hat constantly. Kyle was described as incurably incompetent, and he would need institutional care for the rest of his life, remaining in and out of mental asylums for that entire time. His mother filed a lawsuit on his behalf, claiming the operation had left him totally incapacitated. She claimed Drs. Irvin and Mark had operated on Kyle without his consent. The two doctors had turned her son into a vegetable, and he was destroyed by the operation. So Kyle and his mother eventually lost the lawsuit, and the doctors Irvin and Mark were in.
Okay, so there you have it. You have a individual that was used as an experiment, implanted and used as an experiment. Okay, they destroyed his life. They destroyed his family's life. Okay, I don't consent to it. I do have ESP. I'm broadcasting my life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have that power. All right. It's up to you to investigate that, to question the government. Why is this guy broadcasting his life? How are we reading his thoughts? Okay. You have to investigate that. They have to divulge that answer to you. It's a matter of law. It's a matter of FOIA. Okay. They have to divulge that to you. I am a test subject broadcasting my life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay? And we'll talk about ESP later on. All right? But right now, I want to talk about the evidence. Okay? The VA is aware of microwave energy weapons. They studied on animals. They know what the potential of these weapons were. And I have to fall back on a video from the Moscow signal. Okay? There was an investigator who investigated this. They were doing this back in the early 1970s, and I say the 70s again. Okay? It was happening a long time ago, folks. We can't make that up. The Moscow signal lasted from 1953 to 1976. Okay? Here we go. I got to repeat this over again because it's a sign of it's a sign of schizophrenic, right? But I have the right to speech. Don't hurt the facts. Here we go.
In 1953, the Russians began to bombard the U.S. Embassy in Moscow with electromagnetic radiation in the microwave spectrum, but the fact was kept secret from the embassy employees. U.S. Ambassador Stossel contracted a blood disease, bleeding eyes, nausea, and eventually lymphoma. He and other employees eventually died as a result of the microwave attacks. Dr. Henry Kissinger sent a secret memo giving hazard pay to embassy personnel in the 1970s. Before the attacks, the USSR had met with the U.S. to try to head off an arms race in electromagnetic weapons, but were refused. In retaliation, they began microwaving the U.S. Embassy. It is possible that the U.S. government took advantage of the situation and used the embassy staff as microwave guinea pigs. The Department of Defense's Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA, set up a lab at Walter Reed Army Institute of Research and participated in Project Pandora. Scientists began zapping monkeys to study the biological effects of highly concentrated microwave frequencies. Similar studies were conducted at the VA hospital in Kansas City, University of Rochester.
Similar studies were conducted at the VA hospital, Kansas City, Missouri. Now, how do I prove that that information is correct? How do I clarify that that's correct? And I go back to an article, a psychological journal, a medicine journal that was written in the 1970s. And it makes sense. This is publicized by a psychological association of doctors and scientists, right? Who wrote this back in 1975. This was written, published on March of 1975. Read the article. The American Psychologist, Journal of the American Psychological Association, Volume 30, March 1975, number 3. Let's go right there. Microwaves and Behavior by Don R. Justison, number 391. Read the article. Microwaves and Behavior by Don R. Justison, Laboratories of Experimental Neuropsychology, Veterans Administration Hospital, Kansas City, Missouri. So help me God, read the article. But if you look at the article very closely, it talks about ESP. Right there. Read the article very carefully. They knew about this a long time ago. $1975, right? Yeah. The weapon itself. You can't hide the facts, folks. The Navy knew about this, okay? The Navy knew all about this. If you read the article at their Navy search database, there it is. They knew about these wars, these silent weapons. Okay? 1975, the Navy knew about this stuff, folks, and the VA. You can't make this up, folks. You just can't. 1972, U.S. Navy. Okay? You with me so far? All right? So we know that this weapons existed that long. Okay? They knew about it a long time ago. And still today, we have no laws to protect us. There have been many attempts at protecting Americans, but still no laws. And then we have proof that this was attacking Americans in Moscow, Washington, and New York. Okay? There's countermeasures that this was recorded back in 1775. There's countermeasures. There's countermeasures that these were investigated. 2 agencies investigated. 2 agencies. The Secret Service and Department of State. And we still don't know what the hell's going on today. That's the scary part of it, right? Yeah, we don't know what the hell's going on today. We don't know a damn thing about it, right? We don't know a goddamn thing about it, right? No, we don't know anything about it. But we still have countermeasures. There was a Department of State who investigated that. He said it was 50 feet across from the embassy. We have the Secret Service that said, yes, they've investigated Richard Nixon's complaint. And the mechanism they used to record that were a dosimeter and also they said he used a dosimeter and a Geiger counter. There you go. It says, before his Moscow visit, Nixon was asked by another Secret Service member, John Stewart, if he wanted a radiation detection device used on the trip. Nixon said no to the Geiger counters, but yes to the dosimeters. So 2 devices were used to investigate this, okay? And then we had some complaints by the state of Oregon. State of Oregon. State of Oregon. Eugene, Oregon. Eugene, Oregon says it was the Navy. It was responsible for the Navy's action. The Navy's involved. Oregon's close encounter turns out to be of no ordinary kind. The mysterious radio signal that some Eugene residents may turn their skin red and cause other health problems are not coming from outer space, but from a naval operation in Alameda, California. The Federal Communications Commission's official said Tuesday. Read the article. Coming from the Navy. They're blaming the Navy. There's the articles. More articles. More articles. Okay? You know, and these weapons have existed since 1950s, guys. I mean, they've been complaints and claims. I told you about that yesterday, okay? But they're blaming the Navy. Okay, they're blaming the Navy. Now, Oregon's got two things right now. Two things going from. They already had a city council meeting. There was a guy who spoke out in city council in 2019. And there was also, today, there's still a court battle on targeting citizens in the Oregon State Court. The Oregon Federal Court. It's called, look up the lawsuit. The Oregon Fusion Center lawsuit. They're still in court right now. The case was filed back in 2021. They're still in court on targeting and torturing Americans with silent weapons. Still a big battle in Oregon. And they're gonna be facing some critical stuff because they cannot hide that. They've been attacking the state of Oregon for a long time. Read the court case. And if I was media, if I was the citizens, I would go to these some of these trials. If they go to trial, I think they're not in trial yet. They're in discovery, but I would go to trial. They demanded a trial jury. But yeah, I mean, they're still victimizing citizens, right? And here's a little article. We're going to go hear a little article on this. Because you can't make this stuff up, folks. You can't.
But in America, such research had been dominated.
Just a little bit.
The disruption to our brain function from ever-growing layer upon layer of cumulative and chronic electromagnetic fields, combined with the velocity of information that we have access to, is fragmenting us continually, impairing our ability to pay attention and to learn.
In March 1978, a story in the Eugene Register Guard announced the discovery of a mysterious radio signal that had been beaming the entire town of Eugene, Oregon for several years. The article begins, "A powerful radio signal that may be affecting human health has been monitored in several Eugene locations and in the air 3,000 feet above the city. The source of the radio signal is unknown." By the time the headline appeared, University of Oregon industrial hygienist Marshall Van Oort had been attempting to get public health and federal agencies involved for months, with claims that many Eugene residents were suffering a wide array of health issues, including headaches, insomnia, coordination problems, ear and throat problems, and more. According to a July 1985 article by Operation Mind Control author Walter Boart and co-author Richard Sutton, which I found in the CIA's declassified documents database, a middle-aged Eugene man named Walter Toposky had contacted Van Oort for help after witnessing strange vibrations in his home and suffering horrible symptoms for 2 years. Toposky had not only suffered from insomnia and burning corneas, but he was also hearing voices. Van Oort became disturbed after he came down with the same symptoms while in Toposky's home. Van Oort himself also noticed the signal in his own home, which he described as a high-pitched, barely audible sound accompanied by a stuffiness in both ears. His symptoms included, among other things, a reddening of the skin. The sound and symptoms disappeared when he left his house. The signal itself was described as a radio frequency pulse signal, a 4.75 megahertz pulse occurring at 1,100 times per second. It had been recorded inside multiple homes in multiple locations throughout Eugene, but it was also measured at 3,000 feet above the city and extending northward toward neighboring Corvallis. The signal had been measured at power intensities as high as 500,000 watts. 10 times the level of the most powerful AM radio station licensed by the FCC at the time. Van Oort's plea in the newspaper article for public assistance was due to what he said was sluggishness on the part of government agencies to get involved in the matter. One public health official was quoted as saying that he was worried about a stampede of imaginative patients on one hand but a potentially serious health problem being laughed off as flying saucerism on the other. Comments in the piece left the impression that everyone was kicking the can down the road because no one wanted to touch the issue of non-thermal biological effects arising from microwaves, a reality the Russians had scientifically established for decades at that point, with hundreds of studies showing everything from negative genetic effects to neurological and behavioral effects.
As soon as the electronic age really dawned in a big way, and that really happened in World War II, when all kinds of devices were being played with, and radar was invented, and that was actually a game changer.
But in America, such research had been dominated almost exclusively by the US military, who ostensibly discounted the Russian research as scientifically unsound, and upheld the same assertion they'd been spouting since the late 40s, that only microwaves which cause thermal effects were harmful or dangerous.
The fact is, radiation involves something called microwaves, and there are differing views on how much radiation is bad for your health.
There is no doubt among medical specialists that microwave radiation can produce medical problems.
Those who own microwave ovens are well familiar with the cooking effect, and these are high-intensity effects. That's well established. The more controversial are the non-thermal or effects of microwave, such as the neurological effects.
Neurological meaning what?
Well, effects on the nervous system, irritability, sleep.
Okay, but you get the point. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and hear more evidence, okay? Because I'm here to give you the facts, okay? You're trying to retaliate against me and try to kill me. I'm here to give you the facts. I've been denied due process by the U.S. Supreme Court. I've been denied due process by federal officials, and I'm here to give you the facts. When you deny due process of a law by federal officials and legal officials, you have no choice but to protest, and you'll hear that too, okay? Because that's what you're doing. You are attacking Americans and making us look like hypochondriacs. Stay tuned with more information, because I'm going to present that to you. Thank you. Stay tuned. Okay, I'm back again. Okay. Like I said, we're being weaponized all over the United States, and it's getting precise. You know, we're talking about the 1970s, and communication wasn't that big. We didn't have these. We didn't have these in our pockets. Okay. We didn't have these in our pockets. We didn't have them in our front pockets. We didn't carry them around. As a matter of fact, when you get off the phone, you hung up back on the wall, and that was the internet conversation. Now we got them all over the place. It's a tracking device. You know, you might as well just have an ankle bracelet and you be declared as being incarcerated. Okay, because that's what it is. It's incarceration. It's incarceration. It's incarceration when you have antennas that are on four corners, and I can prove that theory to you. I'll prove it to you right now. Okay? I'll prove that theory to you right now. I have a theory. Okay? I'm not a lawyer. I'm a disabled veteran with schizophrenic. But I'm going to prove my point. And I'm going to beat it down like a dead horse. Okay? You have Gwen Towers. Here's the human being. Here's your human being. They're attacking me right now. And here are your radio towers. These are your radio towers. Okay? And they have you connected everywhere you go. If you're implanted, even if you're implanted or you have a smart device, you're still giving off a signal enclosing you in electronic prison. Everywhere you go, you're pinging off. And everywhere you go, you look around you, there's an antenna. There's an antenna. There's an antenna all around you. Everywhere you go, there's an antenna that's got you locked into a prison, electronic prison. Okay? Even when you drive down the highway, you look around you, there's an antenna. Latching onto your phone if you're implanted, or latching onto you if you're implanted. It's got you in prison. Okay? It's got you imprisoned. And it's going against the constitutional laws of searching and seizing you. Searching your information, using geofencing to seek you out without a search warrant. And then do that to thousands of Americans in violation of your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights. Not only that, they're torturing you and warning you that they're watching you. So if I'm driving down the highway, I don't have my seatbelt on, all of a sudden I get attacked on where the seatbelt's supposed to be, I know they're watching me. Okay, it's that obvious. All right? But is that their duty to do that? Their duty is supposed to be writing laws, not detecting you while you're driving on the highway. Clearly in violation of your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights. And I like to cite a couple of court cases into that too, because they're using these antennas to hunt us down, to target us. I'm nuts. But we know what's going on. Read the court case. They're using advanced technology to attack us. And it's gotten worse. In the 70s, you had maybe 2 antennas per town broadcasting radio. Now they're every 4th mile, having us putting our lives in a virtual computer game, allowing the criminals to access you and attack you. There's an article about the Ukraine and Russian war, where they're using these devices in the battlefield. Read that. So Wi-Fi signal and smartphones are weapons. They're deadly. They cause fake symptoms. Smartphones are weapons of mass manipulation, and this guy is declaring war on them. Okay? There he has it. Mass manipulation. What I should say, smartphones are weapons of mass hypochondriacs. That's what that should read, right? That's what I would write about. These smartphones are weapons of mass hypochondriacs. That means the next generation of children will be hypochondriacs. Your children, your grandchildren. Be fidgeting in school, twitching of their minds, burning of their skulls. I mean, that should be regulated against the laws. But you know what's funny? Throughout the years, it used to be capital punishment for attacking someone over the age of 60, right? They took those laws away. There's no capital punishment for attacking someone over the age of 60 anymore because they were bringing in these weapons. So they had to alleviate the laws. So if they get caught, they wouldn't get capital punishment for attacking someone over the age of 60. Read the articles. These are weapons. When is the ATF going to investigate this? These are weapons. Okay? They banned them in China. They are weapons. All right? And this war's gotten better. It's gotten better. Like I said, back in the early 70s, 80s, they only had, 2 or 3 radio antennas per town? Now look at your town. You got smart cities. Those smart cities are on fire. The earth is cracking. Buildings are shifting. Plumbers are working. Electricians are rewiring. Buildings are flooding. Animals are hurt. The killer whale's attacking the trainer. I mean, it's a mass weapon of destruction, of fraud. So we ask ourselves, the outcome of these weapons, they cause symptoms. Cancer, pulsating of the body, burning of the flesh, burning of the brain. Okay, it's serious. It's precise. It's weaponized against us in an act of war, in an act of treason, sabotage, corporate sabotage, torture, illegal eavesdropping and wiretapping. And what I'm pissed off about is that you guys sit in Congress and you sit in the Senate for 4 years, because after 4 years, bye-bye, you're gone. And if I'm a congressman or senator that has a lawyer background, I'm like, well, goddamn, these weapons are being caught. Lawyers are allowed to practice law. Lawyers are being allowed to practice law. Unfortunately, Texas is not that yet. We haven't reached that yet because we don't recognize this shit yet. You know why? Because we're the top military and top hospitals in the world. We don't recognize the symptoms yet. We don't want to recognize them yet. We're having too much fun. None of the people are dying. That's inciting war. It's against the Texas constitutional law. It's treason. Lawyers are now practicing law in California and Florida. Lawyers are practicing law. Lawyers are practicing law. Lawyers are practicing law. Lawyers are practicing law. Lawyers are practicing law defending Americans only in California and Florida. Lawyers are practicing law. Lawyers are practicing law. Lawyers are practicing law. Lawyers are practicing law. Lawyers are practicing law, defending Americans against electronic harassment. Lawyers are practicing law. Lawyers are practicing law. Engineers are investigating. Engineers are investigating. Now, when I say to all this, that's fine and dandy. You have the right to practice law and defend Americans, but it does no good if you can't call your local law enforcement in the state of Texas and say, hey, I need you to investigate the targeting and torture. And he denies to do that, or he calls you nuts, or he detains you. When in fact, law enforcement is supposed to take the report and hold it in custody. So that way you can go on and file a lawsuit. Hey, I am being targeted in my neighborhood. Well, who's responsible? Well, the neighbor, the perpetrators attacking with satellite drones and electronic warfare. They have to take in consideration that their responsibility is to take the report, whether they like to hear it or not to detain you. There are lawyers practicing law. Lawyers are practicing law. They're not supposed to detain you. They're supposed to write a report. Let the lawyers decipher that out. Let the judge decipher that out to determine if you're crazy or not. The law enforcement is supposed to take the report and maybe even have a device. Maybe even have a device that shows him, yeah, I came to his house and I have a device that says he's being targeted. I have a device that says he's being targeted. I attest to his complaint. I got 2 devices and they're reading that there's excessive microwave frequency coming to his house. Coming from north or south. So help me God. So you get the police report. Now you go to your attorney and he begins an investigation, sends the experts out to your house, finds out it is the neighbor. So you file a lawsuit and you bring the neighbor to court with the devices and you settle the court case. Not be falsely in prison or detained for making a complaint. So, if you're a congressman or senator in the office right now, my question to you, yeah, I know you're a senator or a congressman, and you may have a law degree background, and you may be in there for 4 years, and you're out of there. But what have you done? What have you done to protect the lives of American people in the future? Have you established laws yet? Have you taken the time out to write laws for the future of this technology and torture of Americans? Because if you don't write any laws and you leave office and go back to your law office, you're going to kick yourself in the rear end with a big ass boot. Because you swore to God that you should have passed some laws to protect your citizens. And now you don't have that time. You don't have a fucking job to this new technology that's arising. So I ask you, what are you going to do to preserve the equal protection of a law for Americans? Doesn't make any sense. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. And I have to quote President Trump on that. They don't know what the fuck you're doing. Because if I was a congressman with a lawyer background, I'd be pushing for some laws. And I'd be pushing for some catch-all law. If a person is being tortured with electronic devices or conspires with someone to attack someone with devices, felony, the penalty is $500,000 fine, confinement in jail for up to 16 years for treason, destruction is depending on what the person is experiencing. If he's a worker or a judge or lawyer that lost his job, it could be an enormous amount of money, compensating the judge for what he's lost, or compensating the lawyer, or doctor, or scientist, or student what he lost, or job that he lost, compensated for that. But they don't consider that. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You have to look at the longevity. But you guys are so busy selling, well, the insurance. Yeah. So what is the insurance? Big deal about the fucking insurance. The person is causing people to become hypochondriacs so you can make a profit off the insurance. But what about the legality of it? What about the perpetrator that's attacking the judge or lawyer that's coercing them to leave their jobs so they can collect welfare? It's terrible. It's a bad situation. A bad situation. They don't know what the hell they're doing. So, this is deja vu from 1970. And all you've done is paid whistleblowers millions of stolen taxpayers' money. That's all you've done. Is create a whistleblowing society paying out millions of dollars so you can fund your underground city or fund offshore banks. It's scary. Maybe you should put caps on whistleblowing. Because to pay out millions of dollars to a whistleblower. So let's do some math here. How would I pay out a whistleblower? Well, pay out the calculator. If you were a police officer for the state of Texas and you made what? $160,000. If you made $160,000 a year, times 10 years as an officer, so $160,000 a year